Before I begin today's video, if you want to help GOP rising star Elise Stefanik get reelected up there in New York's 21st Congressional District, please visit the link in the description box below. Yes, this is an ad, but you only get ads directly from me that I believe in. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a very interesting number directly from the Center for Disease Control, aka the CDC. Only 6% of the 180 almost thousand people that quote unquote died from the virus by itself with no other comorbidities. Only 6%. So you're talking about less than 10,000 in the United States. Now, as far as the world, I don't know. We're dealing with the CDC. That's an American government organization. That's what they're telling us right now. And if you don't believe me, I have that source in the box below. As a matter of fact, I have several sources, not only the CDC itself, but also several news sources reporting it. Left, right, center, local. I got it all in the description box below. Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Now, you're going to hear quite a bit of reporting trying to debunk that and say, oh, well, these right-wing conspiracy theorists, these QAnon supporters, they want to say it's only 6%, like it's not a deadly virus. That's not really the reality. Well, I'm going to go ahead and debunk or address some of their quote-unquote debunking. Now, first of all, the number includes other comorbidities that could include things that the virus causes. All right. I got to get that out there because they'll say that. They'll say, oh, well, just because only 6% only had the virus and that was it as far as what caused their death or what they listed, that's a different story. That doesn't mean that other things that the virus causes are not included as a comorbidity. So, for example, we know what the virus does. It affects your breathing. OK, you might mess around and get bronchitis, or pneumonia is a big one. You may have things that the virus causes that are listed as a comorbidity. So let's say you had the virus and then you had pneumonia and some other things. Your liver got damaged. All those things that could be attributed to the virus were listed as a comorbidity. So they're saying, oh, that's the reason why only 6% of the 100 and some odd thousand that have quote unquote died from the virus in the US only had the virus and that was it as their cause of death. However, they don't say how many people had virus-related illnesses that died from the virus. Okay, they're not talking about people that were morbidly obese. That's the main thing that I've seen that aggravated the virus. Okay, if you weigh a lot, if you're a very big person, that's what's going to cause it. I've not seen any child or even a young person that died from the virus. I'm talking about like lower than 25. I've not seen anybody that died from the virus that young that was not obese or that did not have some kind of serious underlying health condition that probably would have put him at risk of any kind of illness, whether it be the flu, maybe even the common cold, and most certainly this novel coronavirus. All right. So for them to say, oh, well, they had bronchitis and they had a lung infection, whatever, that's not going to cover all of the other comorbidities. All right. We know what's going on here, especially in very young people. We know what it is. Either you're going to be young with, crazy health problems, or elderly in general and also have health problems. All right. The elderly, really, the bulk of the deaths, or the region with the most deaths, was New York City, Connecticut, but mostly New York City and nursing homes. I think it was like 20 to 30,000 that died in nursing homes in New York City by itself. Some crazy number. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. But I know that it was quite a bit. You're talking like the majority of deaths happened right there. Once you leave New York City, like if you just exclude New York City, it wasn't even that bad. It's the equivalent to a flu season, really. All right. So what was going on in New York? I think what was happening in New York, just my opinion, I don't know it for sure. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. I think New York City being so compact and people living in these big buildings with hundreds of people, I think that's probably what caused it. All right. I saw a stat months ago that said 84% of those that were hospitalized with the virus in New York were either at home quarantining like they were supposed to, or they came from a nursing home. The homeless were like 1 to 2%. So if you are homeless, you're outside, you're not quarantining, you're not socially distancing, you're not wearing the mask, you're out there in the elements. Why is your rate of hospitalization so low? What's really going on with that? Why is it that the nursing home people and those that were at home, why are they flooding the hospitals? What's really happening? All right. Could the quarantining be affecting you negatively? Could the fact that you got so many people in these structures be an issue? They said that they found it in AC units, but they're not really sure, or not AC units, but in ductwork. Like if you live in the building that has central air and they're connected, that could be how it spreads. But they're not really sure if it will spread. Like the virus could be in those places, but they're not really sure if that is what spreads it. There's still a lot of unknown information. But what I do know from the CDC is that only 6% of those that died from the virus allegedly had the virus by itself. And I'm willing to bet the majority of those that died had underlying health problems before they caught the virus. You see, the media want to say, oh, they had these problems, the comorbidities after the virus. I think the majority of them had a problem before the virus. And the elderly population, they always get hurt the most by any kind of virus, whether it be the flu, whether it be H1N1 back in the day, they always get hit the worst. All right. This is just a thing that we all know to be true. And why is it that Florida and Texas and other places that don't have these really restrictive lockdown orders and whatnot, why is their death rate and infection rate much lower than New York City or New York in general? I mean, why is that going on? They were trying to say where I live in Tennessee that there was some kind of outbreak and they got to slow down on the reopening. That story was bogus. That was a few weeks ago, and there's no such thing here. All right. Life is normal again. The only thing that's different is that some people wear masks and some people don't. When you go to Walmart, it was funny. I was at Walmart the other day, and it was a guy kind of at the door saying, hey, sir, you got to wear on the mask. Not me. He didn't ask me. I had like a mask like as a bandana like right here, but I wasn't really wearing it, which is that's a pro tip, by the way. If you don't want to get harassed for wearing the mask, just put it right here. And I'm not going to say nothing to you because you got it on, but you don't have it on the way. But anyway, one guy that was behind me had no mask at all anywhere in sight. And then it was like, hey, sir, you got to wear a mask. It's like, I don't want to wear one. I couldn't help but bust out laughing. But what was that guy going to do? He's not going to confront him. It's cops in there. They're not going to do nothing to you. Where I live, things are pretty much back to normal. There's no outbreak of the virus. This virus, way overrated, hated it. If you're still quarantining right now, I feel for you. I really do. If you are quarantining and you don't have to, then that's just your problem. All right. Maybe you are kind of scared because you have a higher risk, and I understand. I think that should be kind of the way we go forward. If you want to quarantine because you feel like you're high risk and you're not really going to be able to get back out there, then you do that. You figure out a way to work from home or whatever you got going on. You figure that out for yourself. But for the regular, average, everyday person, we got to get back out there because the economy is still struggling. Where I live, things are pretty much normal. All right. You're trying to open everything, the schools, all that. We're pretty much back on track. But some places it's not like that. Schools still closed. Restaurants, bars, pretty much anywhere you want to go is closed. Everything is remote. New York City, man, oh man, I feel bad for anybody that lives in New York City. I know it's a lot of people there that voted for Bill de Blasio. They voted for Andrew Cuomo. They voted for the mess they're in right now. And for them, I mean, that's on you. You got to do with that. But people up there in New York aren't always just liberal. You got conservatives up there. You got a lot of Trump supporters in New York City, in New York State. I feel bad for you guys, man. And I saw that video, a bunch of people that were just leaving. It was a line outside the U-Haul trying to get a truck to escape in New York. And the U-Haul was boarded up, if I'm not mistaken. It was a mess, man. It was crazy. I never seen anything like it. The quarantine and stuff is just too much for a virus that does not kill that many people. Let's keep it all the way real, okay? This was the equivalent to a bad flu season. Now, I'm not saying the virus is a hoax. The virus is real. People have died. Don't get that twisted. But how bad is it? Is it that bad to kill the entire economy of the U.S. and the world to a certain extent? Is it that bad? I mean, I can't really tell. 6% had the virus, and that's it. The other 94% had the virus and other things. Okay, you got the virus, but you also 800 pounds, and you've been on your bed for the past 3 years. you got some food that was brought in from those bros or whatever, and the person that brought it in had the virus. Now you got it and you passed away. Well, I mean, you had 1 foot anyway. You understand? If somebody was elderly, they're going to be more likely to catch a virus and pass away from it, regardless of what it is. I mean, because they're elderly, they have a compromised immune system. But you got kids out there, they're not really going to be having the problem. I was watching something and it was a lady that was sitting down and she had a mask on. And her baby, she had an infant, like a goo goo gaga. She had a baby, right? That had no mask on. People were saying, hey, where's baby's mask? This is a baby. Babies don't need masks. They're trying to develop their immune system, number one. And number two, they got to be able to breathe. I mean, what's the point of having a baby wear a mask? It's like putting them inside a bubble so they don't have contact with the outside world. Little kids, babies, even teenagers are not really prone to having any kind of issues with the virus. For them, it'd be a cold. They got pretty strong immune systems, or it's still developing. But once you get to be elderly, or you smoking and drinking, you shooting heroin or whatever, you're going to be at high risk. So if you are at high risk, you get to quarantine, but the rest of us, get back to normal. Okay, let's stop all this madness. The mask stuff is not even really effective. Quarantining not really effective. Let's just stop it. I mean, this is just my opinion now. It's not medical advice, so don't nobody get triggered. Don't nobody say, hey, ABL's giving advice. He's not a doctor. I'm just giving you my opinion, that's all. But the facts are straight from the CDC itself, not from me, not from the so-called right-wing conspiracy theory, QAnon, not just from source that can be villainized, not from them, but from the government itself. So if the numbers are wrong, then give me the right numbers. I'll wait, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about only 6% of those that died from the virus dying from only the virus, and that's it? And then a 94% remainder had other things that they died from. Okay, obesity, high blood pressure, kidney problems, liver problems. How do you feel about that? I think really it kind of vindicates a lot of us. It validates a lot of us. We've said, okay, if you're elderly, you got an underlying health condition, you should quarantine. The rest of us that are healthy and we're good people, we're good to go. Let us go back out there and continue to work. All right. Even if I do catch it and I pass, I mean, anything could have happened. You can get hit by a car. You can get hit by a truck. I feel like the virus, we know what causes severe reactions. We know who is the most prone to catching it and having an unfortunate end. We know what's going on with that. Let's just take that knowledge, go out in the world and utilize it in our own way, rather than having the government forcing us to not work, to not go to school, to not do anything, to sit at home and drink and want to put it into it all. Let's stop all that and get back to normal life. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.